in the last video, I just did an overview of the email security solutions that we have available. Now I'll just go one by one into each of the solutions. So in this video, my focus will be basically on the email gateway defense feature of Barracuda. So over here, you can see it's just protection. We are getting in the dashboard, we can see information about the inbound email statistics, how many were allowed, how many were blocked, how many were quarantined, depending on the settings that you have set up. So just to get started with the email gateway defense, now you can see I am already set up in this case. But if you're getting started for the first time, when you're setting up at the Barracuda platform, you have to choose the data center where this is going to be set up. So whether it's the US region, we have multiple available. You can check that up and then configure the domain that you're trying to protect. So I've just gone home and you can see like an overview of the services, or yeah, let me say services or features that I have enabled. And one of them is the email gateway defense. I am here to set up the cloud archiving service. And over here under the global settings is where you can see like which users you are managing, what are the directories, what are the groups, and so on and so on. So back to the email gateway defense. Here, for example, if you click add domain, you're going to specify the domain name and where is the mail server that you're trying to protect this from. So in my case, I have this set up on Exchange, so Microsoft 365. Over here, you can see, so over here, you can see the domain that I have set up, the kiracloudhub.com. And you're getting information about its overview, the DNS records, the users who are managed by this specific domain, teams and groups, and the application. So all that is managed over here, and kiracloudhub.com is actually hosted on Route 53 in Amazon. Okay, so you're going to add your domain name and specify your specific mail server. And once you have done that, so for example, if I click at this domain, okay, so once I click like edit on this domain, you can see information about the mail server that I had set up. So there it is. And then once you create that, you're going to add your MX records. So over here, you can see it's giving me information about the MS server configuration so that you're specifying that any traffic coming in and out of our Exchange server and so on, that traffic should go through the Barracuda network for inspection in that case. So you have to specify these MX records and also add the SPF records that you have set up. So these ones now are going to be set up from your domain provider. So in this case, mine is in AWS. Okay, and if I just check on that, you can see that I came and set up my MX records, putting the records that I got from here. So the MX server configuration. So apart from that, over here, you can also come and sync your users. So you can use either the Azure AD or the LDAP directory service just to enable single sign-on and synchronization of your users list. So over here, I have utilized the Azure AD and connected that to the users within the kiracloudhub.com. So once you specify, you can sync automatically in case you add multiple users in your organization or manually. And you can see at this point in time, I have 22 users who have been added. And those are my dummy users that are managing from my Exchange Admin Center mailbox over here. Okay, so that is the next step that you have to configure. And then you can specify, like now go to Exchange and set up like your connections, how your mails are going to be flowing. You can set up different connectors to specify how scanning will, or how mail scanning will be happening in this case. So over here, let's see. I think I have a rule enabled over here to just bypass spam scanning from this case, because it's going to be scanned through the Barracuda networks in this. So it's going to be scanned through the Barracuda network. I also have another rule available over here, and you can see this rule applies that if the sender's address portion domains belongs to any of these domain. So we are sending an email address for my own domain, and is received from inside with this organization. So we are going to route that message using the connector named the outbound demo. I'll show you that connector, how it looks like. So the outbound connector is just showing how the traffic will go through the Barracuda network, except if it's sent to inside the organization. So if an email is within our same organization, I'm sending from a colleague to another, maybe we want to bypass traffic going through the Barracuda networks for inspection. So the connector that I have set up from the role, so we can see we have two connectors, and with the inbound connector, inbound block non-Barracuda network traffic. So here, in this case, we are just rejecting messages first if they are not encrypted using TLS, and also if they do not come within this IP address range. Now, this IP address range is available from the Barracuda documentation. You're going to get the list or the range of CIDR block from their network, and this is from the US region where I set up my email gateway defense. So you can get that too. So we are saying block any traffic if that traffic has not come from our partner organization. And we also have the outbound available over here. So if we are sending traffic from office to basically to whoever we are sending to, but that traffic is going through our partner organization. So we are seeing the use of the connector, use only when I have a transport rule set up that redirects the message to the connector, and you are specifying any outbound email should be routed through this specific smart host, which is the barracudanetworks.com that I have available, and you can validate that to see if it works. So that is setting up the connectors. If you have any IP addresses that you want to restrict, you can restrict, add an outbound hostname, and then yeah, you have seen how you have set up the Entra ID and Active Directory setup from here, just to synchronize all the users that we are targeting. So that means that now all inbound mail, all traffic coming in to Office 365 will have to go through Barracuda, and outward traffic will also have to go through the Barracuda network. So just to see an overview of the operations that we have available. So under overview, we do have the dashboard. Now within the dashboard, you're getting information like the global and domain level email statistics. So inbound email statistics overview, outbound email statistics overview, all these, the top threats and viruses overview, last blocked through the advanced threat protection, all this information is available over here. So that is under the overview. We do have the message log. So with the message log, we are just reflecting all the email traffic. So any information, for example, you can see direction inbound. So there are these emails that have been coming from either Barracuda or no reply emails and so on to admin, and we are getting information like whether that traffic was allowed or rejected. And you can also specify, for example, I can say the last 2 weeks, and I'll see all information that was allowed and even any traffic that was blocked. So you're going to get that information over here. And even outbound, any traffic going out, we are going to get information about whether traffic was allowed in, whether it was blocked, or also whether it was quarantined. And for example, if a traffic was blocked, you can come check through it and get information about reasons or what was this message about that made it be blocked in this case. And even the outbound that was allowed, when you click on it, you're going to get a preview of the email message itself, the source, and so on. All information is going to be available, how traffic was routed through. So all that information is available over here, especially for troubleshooting purposes. So we are just reflecting all email traffic. We can do filtering and we can select some actions. So for example, so you can see the subject, the date, the reason. So you can see all these were blocked because it was an invalid recipient. And if it was a spam and it was blocked, you are going to get a spam score in this case. And if it's in the case of inbound, so in case it has a spam score or anything, you're going to get a score, the reason why the traffic was blocked, whether it was spam and so on. And you can do a lot of things from over here. Now, after the message log, we do have some sort of reporting. So we do have like the audit log, and the audit log includes anything, for example, that has been done over here, includes changes to all policies, collects all the user details, including also their IP addresses. And you're going to get like a maximum of around 10,000 records over here. So we can see all the information, classified, sign in, as a policy was created, a sign out, a reset, all that information is available over here. So for user administration, so under here we have users. And users, either you can manage them locally or you can automatically add them. So we can add the users manually through the email gateway defense. So over here, if we look at the user list, we'll get all the users that are being managed. And you can actually add a user manually if they exist. So I can specify a user count of, let's say, and specify whether I want to enable the user quarantine and also notify the new user and save changes. And that user will be specifically added manually. And then we have the automated way, how I showed you before under the domain, to sync either your Entra ID or your LDAP server, and you can specify different permissions for those specific users. Okay, so apart from that, we do have, that was the user list. We do have the quarantine notification feature, whereby you can set up even per user quarantine and also set up when they are going to receive their quarantine notifications, either never, or you specify scheduled and specify the times in which you want the quarantine information to be sent. So you have the option to allow the users to manage their own, to specify their own intervals of when they want to receive quarantine messages, and also you can allow users to log in with temporary passcodes into the message log and see information about that. So that is the quarantine features available. We also have the email continuity feature. Let me discard. And this is just a feature of auto-enabling. So email continuity ensures that if the email server that you're working with is unavailable, we can fall back email continuity, where the Barracuda feature or the Barracuda server are going to do the delivery of the emails for your organization. Okay, so those are some of the features that we do have available. So under domains, you can see you can also add multiple domains that you want to configure. Inbound, we can set up different policies. So for example, let's check this, anti-spam or antivirus. So if we are using the Barracuda reputation block list, whether we want to block that traffic, quarantine, or off, we want to scan email for add viruses, enable cloud scan, and over here we are going to set up the policies. For example, if a score is 5, maybe from there you can block and so on. And also over here we do have the email categorization feature. For example, maybe whether you want to allow corporate mail, transaction mail, marketing, mail lists, social media, email addresses into your organization. So you can either allow or block that depending on your organizational settings. We do have the rate control feature. So you can specify the internal rate control and maximum messages per sender IP address per 30 minutes, just to prevent any spamming, also outbound from your email domain. You can set up different IP address policies, for example, which IP addresses, which networks you want to block within your organization, or also the ones you want to exempt so that the policies that you have set up do not apply to those IP addresses. We can set up regional policies, for example, countries where you want to block traffic from, or also like exemptions. For example, this email or this domain, I either want to add it or exempt it from, applying policies that I have set up. And also language policies. For example, if the content is in this specific language, I want to block or basically allow. We do have recipient policies. So we can either want to scan or exempt some specific recipients. Sender policies, want to block specific senders and so on. So sender authentication too. Here is where we can set up if we want to utilize DMARC reporting, DKIM or SPF. So we are going to discuss this further on when we get to domain fraud protection. Yep, and anti-phishing. So all these are just settings that you can go through and set up. And then also with the outbound settings, we can specify the sender IP address range that are allowed to send outgoing emails from our specific domain. We can set up a tagline or a footer for all messages, like all outgoing mails should go with this specific tagline. We can specify encryption whereby we want to require TLS for specific recipients or for all outbound messages. We can set up different content policies, like if the information we are sending out has some password protected archive filtering, we want to block. Maybe password protected Microsoft Office documents we want to ignore, and so on and so on. So we can specify different filters. For example, if the message contains a specific pattern, maybe credit card in the subject header and so on, we want to block that traffic from going out. We can set up our predefined filters, and also we can specify any exemptions that we have for our outbound messages. And notifications. Okay, so the frequency of notification reports the administrator is going to receive, summarizing any outbound quarantine information. So you can specify whether you never want to receive that immediately or scheduled, and specify the notification address where they're going to receive those notifications. So all these are settings you can set up: spam notification, reject notification, quarantine, and so on. That is for outbound emails. And under more reporting, you can get a list of reports available over here. So over here, we can see the inbound traffic summary. We are going to get information about that. total allowed emails, if there are any blocked, any deferred, or any quarantined, depending on your roles. Also the outbound traffic summary, so that will also be available over there. How many were blocked, how many were allowed, blocked emails breakdown, for example, top inbound email senders. And you can see these are the top inbound email senders for my organization, who are the top inbound email recipients. So the admin, CEO, CFO, the HR, and the help desk in this case, and you're going to get information. You can also change the settings of the date range, the domains, and you can also do an export and download this as a CSV file. Top outbound blocked senders, top outbound email senders. All these are some of the reports you can get, and you can also create your custom filters over here and save that as your own reports, and you'll get them available over here. So I think that wraps up. We also have the advanced threat protection feature, whereby you have to specify, for example, if you are scanning uh, any PDFs or any content that is attached to our email, do we want to deliver first, then scan, or we want to scan first, then deliver, or none of that? And for example, if we specify deliver first, then scan, once it scans later, do you want to notify the admin in case there are any issues with the attachments that have been sent? So you can specify that too. So scan first, then deliver is available over there, and you can also specify any exemptions of, like, for example, if this email address is sent emails to my specific domain, then we don't have to scan through the attachments that we have available. So that is the advanced threat protection feature that we have. Yep. And that basically wraps up some of the contents I saw are cool about the email gateway defense. So in the next bit, I'm going to show you the impersonation protection feature